All right.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. Well, I definitely appreciate everybody joining us tonight. So, as Brent was saying, it's 9 here. I'm in Ohio. Brent's obviously in Nashville. So, it's good to be connected through technology. Definitely stoked. Me and Brent, we've kind of known each other through some of the things we've done with him at Freddie. If you don't know, Freddie is a online songwriting community. We're really just aimed at helping songwriters showcase, connect, write better music, get feedback, overall to grow. Through networking and through just pure feedback, and doing things like this, with industry professionals, webinars, and a number of other things we try to offer for free where we can. So super stoked to, like I said, have this webinar. Brent, obviously, I'll let him obviously introduce himself, but quite the resume. Really, like I said earlier, I'm really stoked to hear what these 4 powerful lessons are, as he called pearls. And then we'll run through those findings. We'll do some Q&A. If you have questions, drop them in here at the questions and topics. We'll address those to the end. And we also have some special gifts for you, too, for those who stay on long enough if you can. So, with that, I'll turn it over to you, Brent, and we'll kind of go from there.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Dennis. And thanks, everybody, for showing up and for giving us some of your time. And thank you, Dennis, for kind of putting all this together. So I just kind of have to show up and not have to worry about the technical part of it so much, which is nice, which is usually my Achilles heel. So I appreciate it. I can just do what I do best, which is just talk.
Yeah,
so,
well, we just talked about that, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So a little bit about myself for those of you who don't already follow Man vs. Row, which is my blog. It's Man vs. Row. I'm a songwriter. I'm a professional songwriter. I'm a lyricist by trade. If you caught us talking about that a little bit earlier. So I do words for a living. Basically, I mean, that's my skill set that I bring to the songwriting table. I've been in Nashville about 13 years now. Moved here in March of 2002, and grew up in Arkansas, which explains this thing on my hat here. And grew up in Arkansas and had just always written short stories. In junior high and high school, it was short stories, comic book type stuff, and then turned into bad poetry because of a girl. And then in college, later in college, it ended up turning into songwriting. A buddy of mine took what I thought was a poem, but it had a repeating refrain, just like a chorus. It was structured just like a song. I just didn't really recognize it as a lyric. And he'd been playing guitar a little bit and got into country music, and so he put a melody to it, and I was hooked. And that was my sophomore year in college, so that was Christmas of '94. And since then, I've been writing almost exclusively lyrics, and dumb strum a little bit on the guitar, know a few chords, but man, my guitar's in the garage, and the last time I picked it up was to move it into this house from the last house. I figured out early on that, kind of like we were talking about earlier, Dennis, about what my natural skill set is words. When I looked back, I was like, oh yeah, I've always been writing stories, been writing words, love bad punnery, love bad puns, good puns, love playing with words. It's like, that's where I feel like I'm making the most headway. And it kind of from the beginning, the dream was to get songs on country radio. And of course, at the beginning, you think you're good enough to do it, and nobody is at the beginning, but you don't know that. And so I just kind of doubled down on writing lyrics, and thankfully I had a co-writer from the beginning, my buddy Tim. And we just wrote as much as we could during college, and found what co-writers I could, and just really focused on writing lyrics, and figured if I'm good enough at that, if I have a chance to be great at one thing, which for me was going to be lyrics, then there's a reason for someone to pick up the phone and give me a call versus all the 8 bazillion other people in Nashville. I figured if I could work really, really hard on writing melodies, and then if I was blessed, I might be able to be mediocre. And mediocre doesn't make you any money. And my goal was to, be able to do it for a living, or to get cuts, get stuff on the radio. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be really just focused on writing the best lyrics I can. So that was from '94. I was in college, and I got out and worked in Little Rock for a couple of years. Finally, traded a cubicle for a rented room, in my uncle's mother-in-law's house just outside of Nashville. And so, rented a room, waited tables, worked at a publishing company. Actually, one of my roommates there, she rented out about 3 rooms in her house. He worked at Billboard, and he knew some people around the business, heard that a publishing company named Blue Water Music was looking for a part-time royalty data entry person. And so, they don't advertise those jobs generally, but I went and interviewed for it, didn't get it because I had my MBA and I didn't know that particular software they use, and they figured I was overqualified, and they found somebody that was qualified that actually had worked in that system before. And well, that person ended up having back issues and couldn't sit down for 4 hours at a time and do data entry. So then they called me, and the door opened up and it got me to the row every day. I was working from like 9 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon at Blue Water Music, putting in Jim Lauderdale, Chris Knight's, and Kim Ritchie and Al Anderson's, royalty statements, and learning the business and just being able to be around that. And then at 1 o'clock I'd go home, change clothes, and go wait tables at Cracker Barrel for a while. And did that for a while, and got my first cut on a song I brought to Nashville with me, a song I wrote back in Arkansas called Monday Morning Church. And it was my 2-year anniversary of moving to town. And like I said, I brought that song to town with me, a song I wrote with a girl named Erin Enderlin, who was actually in college outside of Nashville at the time at MTSU. So brought that down with me. She played it for a publisher she'd been working with. He liked it. He demoed it. He started pitching it around. And I'd been in town a couple months when I got my first hold, and that was on Leanne Womack for that song. And so that was a really good day. And then went off hold for her. Actually, that producer ended up not producing that project on her. And then he put it on hold for Terry Clark over Christmas. And so I was like, sweet, 2 holds. It's like my, second year of being here. Things are going great. And then it was my 2nd year anniversary of moving to Nashville. And I went out to celebrate with a couple friends, came back, and I knew that Terry Clark was cutting that week. And so I got, and there was and this will tell you how long I've been here, there was a message on my answer machine from Aaron and said, hey, got some news, give me a call back. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, so I didn't want to call her at 1, but I was thinking, she sounded happy. I think I just got a Terry Clark cut. I think I got my first cut. So I laid there awake all night and just thinking about that, being excited. So I called her first thing in the morning because I'm still awake. And she's like, well, Terry didn't cut it. I was like, oh. She goes, but Alan Jackson put on hold. I was like, oh, wait, I don't know what to do with this. This is, okay, I thought I had a cut and I don't, but wow, Alan Jackson, okay. And that was my 2-year anniversary moving to town. And he ended up cutting it within the month. And so it was my first cut of any size in Nashville, and ended up becoming a top 5 single for him later that year. So that kicked my career 10 years into the future. And so got fired from my royalty admin job promptly after that when the record came out, and went and started shopping for a publishing deal, and got a publishing deal at Major Bob Music in January of 2005. Was there for 3 years. Got some more cuts, got a Randy Travis cut while I was there, got a couple Lady Antebellum cuts for their first record, which ended up being bonus tracks. So if you can find them, where you can buy them, you let me know, because I want to share the word on where you can get them. But they're out there, and got some other stuff happening on records that never came out, that kind of stuff, and have had 2 publishing deals since then. Also had cuts by Ray Stevens. He's a kind of a comedy legend. Oh, yeah. He's in the National Songwriters Hall of Fame. So Mississippi Squirrel Revival and all kinds of stuff. So I've been blessed to have some cuts by him and some other people, like Steve Cropper sang on one of mine. He's a blues brother, so that was really cool. And anyway, so I've been blessed just to get some cuts here and there. And for the last year or so, I've been blogging and trying to teach songwriting as best I can at manversusrow.com. And I do, some coaching and some other stuff, but mainly I'm blogging and just trying to kind of share what I've learned. And I'm going to take a drink and get into the hopefully stuff that's helpful.
But that's super, I think, helpful just in general context. When I first started listening to country music, it was songs like that really drew me in. It was that era, and to know that you were behind that, and Ray Stevens and that whole era was it's great. I mean, it's really great context, and obviously your journey to where you are is, that sets up everything. So.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for sharing that.
Trying to chip away at it. So.
Yeah.
And so tonight, what I'm going to be teaching from is this is not the real cover, but it's a book I put together called Cuttable Lessons in Smart Songwriting. And we'll drop a link in there sometime, maybe here in a minute, or at least by the end of it. And as I go, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box. And then Dennis here will, kind of keep an eye on those. And we get to the question part, he'll pull out and help us get through these. So the big thing about Cuttable, there are two goals kind of for the course, and I won't be able to cover everything that's in there, but I'm going to hit some highlights and try to cover some of the 4 major lessons that are in there. The first goal is to help you think in terms of the commercial music market when you write, and basically to be market smart is what I call it. It's to understand kind of what the market is and what it means to write marketable songs. The other thing is to help you develop the skills to actually write in that way that you're now thinking. It's one thing to understand kind of what the market means, but it's another thing to be able to pull it off. So the book covers, both sides of it, hopefully pretty well, what it means, and then, how to do it in some ways that you can sharpen your skills. So really, Cuttable is for people that want cuts. It's for people that want to try and get other people to record their songs, especially in major, commercial markets like country. But it's not just about country, and it's not about, this XYZ is hot right now, so write XYZ kind of song. It's not about that. It's about kind of how to study the market, think about where opportunities are. So it's more a skill that you can apply to any time. So hopefully it's something that's timeless and will serve you well for years. And if you are, one of those folks that want to get cuts, want to get songs on the radio or on people's records, oftentimes if you're aspiring to do that and you don't have a publishing deal yet, or you don't have cuts yet, you say, I want to be in the music business. Well, the fact of it is, if your goal is that and you are writing songs, you are in the music business, you are the owner of your content and of your copyrights that you're, the songs that you're writing, you are in the music business. You're a small business owner already if you're writing songs. So you don't have to say, I want to be in the music business, because you are in the business. Now, you may not be doing all the functions that are required to have success in that business, but if you already are in it. And I want to help you have success as a small business owner, basically. And what, I have a business degree, and so I think of it in terms of that, because it's the music business, and you got to have both sides of it. And oftentimes it's not sexy and it's not inspirational and warm and fuzzy to talk about the business side of it, but it's hugely important, because it's a big money business. People can make a lot of money. It's hugely competitive, and the gist of it is you want to get where your song has the best chance. One, where it's cuttable, where it's worth somebody recording. But when they record a song, they spend a lot of money on it. If they're going to put it on the radio, the amount of money spent to promote that artist and that song is like, $1 million. It's huge money. So for someone to bet that money on your song with their artist is a big deal. And every little edge you can get to help you find that success matters. And so, and it's really about supply and demand. And that's really what I call it, the chain of demand. If you've heard of the supply chains or whatever, this is a chain of demand. And really it all starts with the listener. And then, so this is kind of all context for the lessons. The listener is the main target, because the listener is the one that ultimately we want to, what they want is a song that moves them. They want a song that makes them laugh, cry, dance, or think. They want a song that leaves them not the same as they were when it started. And mostly it's songs that make them feel good. Mostly people want to hear music that makes them feel good. And, sometimes if you're like me, you love a great sad song, something that breaks your heart in a good way, and you like to just wallow in sadness. And I certainly do. But for the most part, people just, when they're listening, going to work, whatever, they like songs that make them feel good, make them feel happy. So that's largely what they want. And then the main outlet to those people in the traditional world is radio. And what does radio want? Radio wants listeners. So what are they focused on? They've focused on what's going to keep listeners listening to their station, what's going to keep them coming back instead of flipping over to the next station, basically because they want as many listeners as possible so they can sell advertising, because that's how radio makes their money. Music is an expense for radio stations. They have to pay ASCAP, CSAC, and BMI here in the US for the privilege of paying music. They have to pay generally to licenses to play music. They bring in money by advertisers. So they want to get as many people listening as possible. So they want to make their listeners happy. So they're focused on what's going to keep the listener happy so we can sell more car commercials, for Joe's Car Lot. So, okay, where do they get those songs that are hopefully going to get the people listening? Well, they're going to get that from artists and labels. And so what does the artist and label want? If you're going to put all this money, radio is still the major way that people discover music. And so they want songs that radio will play. Radio wants songs that listeners want to hear. And artists want songs that radio will play so that listeners will hear them and go buy them on iTunes or Walmart or whatever. And they want songs that, they want their songs to get played so people hear it and go to concerts, buy concert tickets, buy t-shirts, buy koozies, all that stuff, keychains, everything, because that's how the artist makes their money, really. So artist and label, it's all coming back to the listener. It's all through that chain. And then the songwriter wants an artist and label to cut their songs. Okay, so if you follow that chain through, ultimately we want to provide the listener or the label and the artist with songs that they believe will get played on the radio that will connect with listeners, and will send them to the various places they can spend their money, which feed the artist. And in turn, if they do that, the money comes back to the songwriter as well. So it all really comes back to the listener, to the audience. So you want to think that way. A lot of times it's easy to think what I want to say. And it's not, unless you're writing for yourself as an artist, and even then it's not just purely about what you want to say, but especially if you're a pure songwriter like I am, meaning I'm not a performer, I'm not going to sell a CD with my name on it or anything, or concert tickets for sure. So I'm not worried so much about what I want to say as I am, what does artist X, Y, or Z want to say that they believe will connect with their audience. And so it all comes back to the audience. And so, it can be frustrating if you're in that position where you're doing some pitching already and you're playing some songs for Music Pro and you may be hearing, oh, this song isn't marketable, or this song isn't ready for the market, or I don't know if there's a market for it. And basically what that stuff means is they don't think that there's an artist that wants to say that, and they figure an artist didn't want to say that because it's not going to connect to the audience, or they think their audience doesn't want to hear that. And it all comes back to the audience. So when they say they don't think there's a market for it, really they say they don't think there are enough people that want to hear it, that makes it financially feasible for them to invest in that song versus all the other bazillion songs that are out there. So we're going to see what we can do to find some songs and write some songs that connect and help your song is to help connect the artist to the listener, is kind of the gist of it. So the first lesson I call Willpower, and it's let's see if I can type it in here. Let's see. No, I can't type. This is why I write. Okay. Okay, it's like that. Willpower. So you can see WILL is an acronym, and it stands for What's It Look Like? Okay, willpower is proving personality and emotions through imagery. And imagery, if you listen to, especially if you listen to any country music, there's imagery all over it. It's the motto in Nashville is show, don't tell. Don't tell me that you're sad, show me what sadness looks like. And so it's if you just turn on the radio for 10 minutes, especially in country, but I think in any real genre, you're going to hear a lot of imagery because it just connects with the listener on a deeper level. And I think willpower is important for several reasons. One is, and I'm going over this stuff fast, but you'll get a replay of this so you can listen again and cover it in the book in more detail. So this is kind of hitting the big points, is pictures are proof. If you tell me that Jimmy was sad, okay, I have to take your word for it. If your lyrics just say, he was sad, okay. But if you say, he went and was crying in his beer, oh, you don't have to tell me he's sad. I see that he's sad. You proved it to me by giving me that image. I believe it on a deeper level. So, when you show your character's emotions, you allow the listener to kind of fill in the gap, and it creates deeper emotional impact. So again, like if I say, oh, he's sad. okay, I understand sadness on an intellectual level. It's all up here. There's no money up here, really. All the money is in the heart, you know? And so he said, okay, sad. I understand what sadness is. I've been sad, but it's still kind of an intellectual concept for me. But if you paint that picture of, he's sitting alone on the empty floor of his, newly empty apartment in the dark, where their bed used to be, and he's got an empty bottle of Jack Daniels in one hand and her picture in the other. I don't have to tell you what his emotional state is. If I paint it well, then you go, oh man, he's so sad. He's heartbroken. You kind of supply that emotion. I just paint the picture. It kind of pulls the emotion out of you versus pushing the emotion on you and saying, Phil, he's sad. Well, I don't care. But if you show it to me, I understand it more. And I think a good example of that is those Humane Society commercials. Or, back in the day, the Sally Struthers commercials wanted you for the price of a cup of coffee a day, you can help sponsor a child in Africa. And they don't just, it's not just Sally Struthers talking. They show you pictures of kids that, with flies crawling on them, they're skinny. You can tell they look really hungry. They have the bloated bellies, and they just look, it's heart-wrenching to see that. And they know to show you those pictures because that's going to connect more deeply with you. They can have all the spokespeople and show all the statistics they want and tell you that these kids are in rough shape. But if I just show you the kid, you're going to feel it. Same thing with the Humane Society commercials, the ones with Sarah McLachlan singing in the arms of the angel, and they show all those sad-looking doggies. Okay, so you can tell me how many dogs are abused and how many dogs need to get home, and I understand it. I can understand, yes, dogs need homes. Okay, you show me a picture of a sad-looking little puppy, I want to adopt it right then, because just that picture, the imagery, I feel it, and it's more real, and it connects emotionally. So yeah, I think you have an opportunity to do that in your lyrics, and so you really want to work on that whenever you can. And I'll give you an example. There's I think a good example of this, and it's also a way to prove personality, because say in the song, it's the same thing with personality. You don't want to just say somebody's a jerk or somebody's wonderful, because I'm just kind of having to take the listener or the singer's word for it. Okay, yeah, it's coming from their point of view. But I think a great example of this is Carrie Underwood's Before He Cheats, where, it's from a couple years ago, but basically the guy's cheating on her. And if you listen to the song, she never once calls him anything disparaging. She never calls him a name. She never says, you dirty SOB, you son of a gun, you lousy whatever. She doesn't call him anything. She doesn't call any names. The writers, Josh Keir and Chris Tompkins, just show you a picture of a no good, cheating, lowlife, skeezy kind of slimy guy. And so they don't have to call him those names. They just hold it up and go, see this? And the listener goes, what a loser. And they just painted the picture. They didn't have to convince you. They just show you what he is. All the lines in there about, dabbing on $3 worth of that bathroom polo, and him buying her, some fruity little drink, and he's dancing up, and he's behind her with the pool cue, showing her how to shoot a combo. All this stuff that just shows a picture of this guy that you don't like. And if she hadn't put the imagery in there of what he was doing, if she just called him names and said, you low life, you jerk, you son of a whatever, well, okay, but you're just bad-mouthing this guy, and on some level, I don't accept it as much, because maybe you're just a crazy ex-girlfriend. But she paints a picture of this guy, and I'll go, okay. So when she bashes in his windshield and slashes his tires, I at least know where she's coming from, and I understand, and I agree that he's due some comeuppance. He deserves some retribution, because I don't like him, because I've seen him in action through the lyrics, and I agree, he's a jerk. I don't feel really any sympathy for him. So it just proves the character. And there's more too about, I think the song Homeboy by Eric Church is a good example of this too. He and Casey Beathard wrote it. And, it's a lot of pictures of what kind of guy his brother in the song is, the homeboy is. It talks about, you were too bad for this little square town with your hip hop hat and your pants on the ground. So immediately we start seeing a picture of what this, how this guy looks and kind of what he's doing. He talks about, you cussed out mama, pushed daddy around before he tore off in his car. And he doesn't say, you know, he could have just said, you know, you're angry, you're violent, you're disrespectful, and that he's, you know, your brother. But they showed us a picture of him cussing out mama. And so we go, okay, you can tell me he's disrespectful, but you show me him cussing out mama and pushing daddy around. I totally believe that he's disrespectful, and I'm not liking this guy. I see what kind of person he is because you just proved it, have proven it to me. And the fact, not only is he disrespectful, he stole his dad's car. You know, he pushed daddy around and tore off in his car. So he took off with dad's car. And then talks about the tattoo on the neck, fake gold in the teeth. So he's painting the picture of this guy that's leaving the small town because he thought it was too good for it. He's violent, he's angry, he's disrespectful. And now he's off in the city kind of living the thug life. But he doesn't, they paint all that in pictures that's very vivid. And you see this guy. But then also, what's great too, so you see a lot of this guy's personality. In the next verse, they go back and they show some of the kids' backstory. Talked about when they were barefoot kids in the yard, you know, catching snakes in the barn. And you see the homeboy as a boy, you know, as a kid, more innocent. And so you have some more sympathy for him. And because they want you to have some sympathy for this guy because he's, you know, the singer wants him to come home and get right with his parents and everything. And if you just make you not like him, you're not going to be as invested. But you start seeing, you know, some of him as a kid, more innocent. If he just said, hey, you used to be innocent or you used to be whatever, but instead showing us him as a kid is a powerful connecting point emotionally. So just a couple exercises on that. Oh, and another good example I think is Lee Brice in I Drive Your Truck, and which is just a great song. You really get a sense of who the original owner of the truck is like. They show you that he's a soldier because the folded Go Army shirt in the back. You see that you know, you listen to country music because it's the same old country station where you always left it. It gives you a sense of their relationship where it says, you know, I bet if you'd probably punch my arm right now if you saw this tear rolling down my cheek, kind of thing, you know. And it lets you know kind of their relationship and kind of how, you know, they're both tough guys, and you would punch them in the arm if you saw them crying. And just to show that with a picture, like the punch in the arm and the tear proves it to me. Like, yeah, these guys are believable. And these guys are real to me because I'm seeing these elements of their personality. So that's, when you do that, it's really important. I think it really strengthens your song up. So I would look, you know, at opportunities within your lyrics. You know, go through some of your lyrics, see where you're just telling an emotion or telling a personality trait without the picture, and go, okay, what's it look like? W.I.L., what's it look like? This emotion or this character trait. And sometimes what you want to do is you just want to get off the lyric page and go over to a page in your notebook or a, you know, Word document or something, and just say, okay, you know, sadness, okay, and I'm going to fill it up with sensory images, you know, things I can hear, smell, taste, touch, you know, see, and say, okay, what does sadness look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? You know, all this stuff, and just start filling up the page with those images. And then you find the ones that work and you start putting those back in your lyric, and it's going to just give so much more power because we can watch the movie, and there's so much more power in being able to just watch the movie instead of just being told about what happened. You know, I want to see it for myself. So that's kind of it for the first lesson. So we're going to go on to the second one here.
That's awesome. Makes me want to put that into action like right now.
Not for another 30 minutes.
Yeah, definitely have some questions around that.
So, all right, lesson 2 is called Pulled to Success, which is I'm all about the acronym. Pulled stands for positive, up-tempo, love / depth. Okay, this is kind of the when people say what they're looking for. If you get those pitch sheets or tip sheets that go around the industry, and there's some that you can subscribe to. What are people looking for? Positive up-tempo all the time. I mean, and just to prove my point here, this morning I pulled up a let's see, it's through MediaBase, through their like country singles chart. And I just went through there and I started categorizing the top, you say 20 songs on the singles chart, country radio singles. Are they positive, up-tempo, love? So let's go through a few of them. Number 1, Sam Hunt with House Party. Positive, up-tempo, love. Okay. What about number 2, Dustin Lynch, Hell of a Night? Positive, up-tempo, love. Number 3, Crash and Burn by Thomas Rhett. It's more of a mid-tempo, but still about love. It's not positive. It's a lost love thing, but it still feels really good. So it kind of still has a positive vibe to it. It's not a crying in your beer kind of thing. It doesn't feel sad. Chris Jansen, Buy Me a Boat at number 4, which is positive and up-tempo. It's not really about love, but it's still positive and up-tempo. So it's got 2 of them. Keith Urban, John Cougar, John Deere, John 3:16 is positive, up-tempo. And it's got a little bit of depth. It's kind of talking about where he came from, a lot of Americana, that kind of stuff. Frankie Ballard at number 6 with Young and Crazy, positive, up-tempo. Brett Eldridge with Lose My Mind at number 7, positive, up-tempo, love. Okay, you catching a trend here? There's a little bit of positive, a little bit of tempo. And it just goes on like that. So I would encourage you to just pull up the Billboard top 40 or whatever and just go through and start categorizing, okay, what is actually getting on the radio and what's having success on the radio? You'll find out. Most of the time it's positive, up-tempo, and love or depth, meaning, it's talking about something a little bit meatier than just bubblegum light stuff. It's still a lot of bubblegum light stuff, but if you can have up-tempo, depth, and positive, man, those are really hard to write well. And if you can do it well, you'll have a seat at the table because people want that stuff. So, so positive, it comes back to, positive songs are in demand because people want to feel good. Like we talked about with radio and the listeners out there, they're driving to work. They want to feel good, forget about their problems, have a good time, go to a show and have a party. And this kind of goes back to the chain of demand too. A lot of times artists make their living off, they don't really make it off record sales as much. They make it off touring and merchandise. And because people just aren't buying records like they used to, but they're still going to shows. And if Brad Paisley or Lee Bryce or whoever, they work so hard to get everyone on their feet, having a good time and having a party, then they play a ballad. And what does everyone do? Sit down. Then they got to work all that to get them back up on their feet. And so if you just look at it, at just numbers and math, you look at what's getting cut on people's records too, where the cuts are, most of it's up-tempo or mid-tempo. So they're faster. They have a good beat. Whether they're positive or negative, they still tend to have a good beat. And there are only 1 or 2 usually true ballads on a record these days. And that's because, okay, listeners want to feel good. They like tempo. Artists, radio wants to hook the listeners, so they're going to play them tempo. Artists want songs that radio play, but also at their live shows, they want songs that people are going to have a good time to, and they're going to get them on their feet and go into the merch table. All right. And that's going to be, tempo songs. And so that's most of what they're going to cut on the record, because that's where they're going to draw their live songs from, and the radio singles are from the album. So most of those are going to end up being positive up-tempo songs. So it's just a matter of math. There are just not as many slots available for sad, slow songs. And I love them. I mean, Monday Morning Church is a sad, slow song. But most of my other cuts have been positive tempo, or at least tempo, or had something to make you smile. So, of course, love is the universal language. It's what everyone, it's, people's deepest need. And so that's the most universal topic you can talk about, lost love. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. That's kind of what we have in common, is need for that. And depth, again, if you can, it almost seems like a law of nature that as the beats per minute go up, the IQ goes down. It's really hard to write something that's smart and has some depth to it, that's not just fluff or cotton candy, when you write more tempo. So if you're able to do that, and the songs like If You're Going Through Hell by Rodney Atkins, that is kind of a statement song of encouraging people, that kind of stuff. It has some depth to it. It's talking about something, not just I love you, baby. That song was huge for him because it felt good, tempo, but also there's something there to kind of help people through the day. So if you can do that stuff, man, I think people are always looking for that kind of stuff. So, and I have some exercises in the book that kind of help you go through, categorize your songs and find that in your songs. And then also to check out the kind of the charts and what's what's moving there. But that's something I think is going to be kind of hold true forever. There may be times where it's Mark is a little more ballad heavy, but man, it's always been so heavy on the positive and tempo. So closing that one down. So if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. I see people are commenting, so that's great. I can't read them and talk at the same time. So hopefully Dennis is taking care of that.
Exactly. Yeah, managing the email too. So there's a couple that just come through email.
Awesome.
So.
Awesome. Good. Yeah. All right. Lesson number 3, neighborhoods. Where are you going to build a home for your song? Okay. So just like in any town, pretty much different neighborhoods have different personalities. On one part of town, you got the rednecks, or maybe they're on the outskirts of town. And another part of town, you have the nice homes where people have money. And another part of town, you maybe have the middle class, blue collar guys. And then you have a neighborhood for the white collar executives and all that stuff. And artists are kind of the same way. In the real estate, the town of whatever genre you're in, an artist kind of plants himself in a particular neighborhood and says, these are my people. These are the kind of people I'm for and I'm going to sing about. And this is the kind of person I am. I want to build my house, my career in a certain neighborhood. Now I may venture out of that neighborhood sometimes. I may go over to a couple streets over, but generally most artists kind of live in their neighborhood. At least at the beginning, they want to really cement their identity. It's their brand. So as you're writing, you want to say, okay, the thing about the joke about real estate, what are the 3 most important things in real estate? Location, location, location. I think it's similar with songwriting. If you think about it, going, okay, what neighborhoods are hot? Where is the value going up in these neighborhoods? Meaning artists are moving in and they want that real estate and they're cutting those type of songs. I mean, right now in country, it's the bro country things, pickup trucks, tailgates, and dirt roads. That's been the hot property for a while. People are cutting those songs. Okay, other times it's going to be something else. For a while it was the redneck songs. Everyone was redneck. And different. Other times, like in the 90s, is the sweet love songs and that kind of stuff. So it changes over time. And the thing about ideas, if you're starting from a song idea, you can plant that idea in different neighborhoods. Most ideas are malleable, and you can say, I have this idea for this song. What neighborhood do I want to build this house in? Do I want to structure this song to fit in with this neighborhood? Meaning, what kind of artist am I going to build this song for? And you have a choice. And sometimes we dive right in and we write a song on our first impression. And maybe that's not the best neighborhood for us to build that song in, because maybe they just aren't artists, very many in that neighborhood, or it's overcrowded and there's not really room for your version of that song. And so that's something you just want to pay attention to. And there's some examples of how songs can be, the same basic idea can be written for different artists, basically for different neighborhoods. One would be, one that, say if you write a song called Looking Forward to Friday Night. Okay, so there are a couple of ways you can write that. You can build that song in a neighborhood where, it's like on college campus. It's where all the freshman dorm is, where all the kids in college live. And they're looking forward to Friday night because they're going to go out and party. And maybe or in the, the good old boy part of town where it's pickup trucks and tailgates. And they're looking forward to Friday night because it's a good time. Or you can build it in the middle class suburbs where an artist maybe like a Craig Morgan, or a guy that's more, married, has kids. He's looking forward to Friday night after they put the kids to bed, and they're going to go sit margaritas on the back deck, with him and his wife. That's a different neighborhood. So, and you have a choice on what way you want to build that and where you want to place that idea. Because you can do either one of them, but, maybe there are a lot more people looking for the Friday night having a party than they are singers going, yeah, I'm middle-aged I'm married, I got kids. And for me, Friday night is hanging out on the back deck, with my wife, finally getting a minute to breathe. Either one is just as good as the other, but it's a matter of, okay, where are your best odds to land a cut? Because if that's your goal, you want to give yourself the best chance to win. If you're just writing to write, it doesn't matter which way you write it, because both ideas and both angles are perfectly valid and just as worthy. But some that have been hits, similar ideas, but built in different neighborhoods. You have Redneck Yacht Club by Craig Morgan, written by Tom Shepard and Steve Williams, and Pontoon by Little Big Town, written by Luke Laird, Natalie Hemby, and Barry Dean. They're each about hanging out on the lake, and they were each very successful. They each went #1, but they're built for different neighborhoods. Not the same artist is going to cut both those songs. Craig Morgan, is self-proclaimed redneck. Redneck Yacht Club. It's a different kind of. There are different people at that party than there are people partying on Little Big Town's Pontoon. Pontoon is younger, it's hipper, it's like, you figure it's single adults, or if they're, if they are married, they're young marrieds, that kind of thing. It's a totally different vibe than, oh, that's Bob, he's our president of the Redneck Yacht Club and we're hanging out. And that feels more of a adult guy, middle-aged, blue collar kind of thing. He's not the hipster. Same basic idea. Different artist, different neighborhood. Another example, and these are from kind of different times, but you have Mama Don't Get Dressed Up for Nothing by Brooks and Dunn and Downtown by Lady Antebellum. Both songs are basically about the woman telling the guy, you need to take me out on the town. It is time for you to take me out on the town. So same basic idea, built in different neighborhoods. Brooks and Dunn, it's more cowboy, because she calls him, hey, cowboy, get off that couch. They're married. And when he says, Mama, don't get dressed up for nothing, he means Mama. It sounds like they got kids and they're want to go honky tonkin'. And so that's a different neighborhood than like the young hipsters in Lady Antebellum, where they're not married, because she's talking about him showing up at the door. And she's like, and she's more like, okay, you just need to, we haven't gone out in too long. So we need to go downtown where the bands are. It's a different neighborhood. And so same basic idea, two different ways to write it. And depending on where people are cutting, you want to make your choice to give your song the best chance. And that's going to change over time. And I know we're flying through our time here, so I'm going to get to the fourth lesson. And I have some, in the book Cuttable, I have some exercises and stuff to kind of help you figure out and practice building in different neighborhoods and kind of expanding that strength. So last lesson is fill in the gaps. And, let's see, type on here. All right, gaps. So another acronym, because I like words. GAPS stands for growth, achievement. Actually, it should be two P's. I can't type. But preaching / positioning or songwriting. Okay, so gaps are where there's opportunity for outside songs. There's opportunity for you maybe to get a song cut. Okay, so, and I'll just go through each one of those. Growth. Where is the artist going to go next? Where are they growing to? For example, Jake Owen is getting more of a beach sound. So there may be an opportunity to say, okay, what's the next step in that evolution of that artist? Where is he growing to? If I write something that's where he's going to be by the next record, maybe I have a chance to get in there. I don't want to write what was on his first record and try to get him to cut it, because he's moved past that. All right, so achievement. Every artist wants a higher level of success. Unless you're an established legend artist, legacy artist who's going to just ride off into the sunset, most artists out there are trying to take their careers to the next level, and they're looking for that career song. So swinging for the fence is something that they can go, yes, that is not just going to keep me at the same level I am. That's going to take it up a notch. Preaching is not talking about the artist telling the listener how to live, because that's usually not a good thing, not popular, but it's preaching to that artist's particular choir. It's preaching to the choir. Like, these are the people I talk to in my music and my records, and I want to keep preaching to those people and talking to my audience. And, it's us. Kenny Chesney, his choir is people that like the nostalgia and like the beach songs. So I'm going to, maybe give him more nostalgia songs or more beach songs that preach to his choir. The other thing is positioning. And that's where an artist says, in the neighborhood analogy, this is my neighborhood. This is the kind of artist I am. This is a spot I take in the market. I'm the blue collar, hardworking guy, or I'm the young, ladies man, or I'm the faithful family guy, whatever their positioning is. So their identity, they want songs that really help cement that in the minds of the audience. So they go, oh, that guy, he does that sort of thing. That's who he is. Examples of that might be Eric Church, Guys Like Me, where he describes the kind of guy, the kind of guy that his girl likes. Rodney Atkins, these are my people. This is where I come from. He's talking about all these people and self-identifying, hey, I'm one of y'all. Or Tim McGraw, Real Good Man. which really sums up his brand perfectly. I might be a real bad boy, but baby, I'm a real good man. It's positioned. It says, this is who I am. And then the last thing is songwriting. So what does the artist write themselves and what do they not write? A lot of artists write, but they tend to write more of one particular thing. Say Keith Urban tends to write more of his up-tempo, feel-good, positive stuff. The stuff he tends to go outside for more is maybe the moodier, the sexier, the more ballad, the dark stuff, like You'll Think of Me, Raining on Sunday, Stupid Boy, some of that stuff. You can look and go, oh, he does this stuff himself. Usually there seems to be more opportunity for the moodier stuff. So if I'm going to write something for him or pitch something for him, I'm going to go where he does it. There's an opportunity. There's a gap in what he does, and he's going to want it filled, and maybe my songs can fill it. So, so that the opportunity for outside songs, so unless you're writing with the artist, you have an outside song, exists mainly in three gaps. What the artist cuts but doesn't write himself or herself, the spaces in between what the artist has already cut, meaning a different slice of the same pie. Say Kenny Chesney's beach songs, you don't want to bring the same slice of the same pie. You don't want to bring another idea like When the Sun Goes Down with the same feel as When the Sun Goes Down. He's already done that. You want to maybe bring something with the similar feel but a different lyric content, or a different feel but a similar lyric content. So it's a different slice. It's a slice in between the other slices. And then the last one is along the outer edge of what the artist has already cut. Push the envelope a little bit more in a certain direction. Try to aim for where the artist is going the next step in their artistic development, which is sometimes just guesswork. But hey, welcome to it, you know? So that's kind of it for our going through those quick 4 lessons. So hope that didn't blow your doors off. But like I said, I go over stuff a little bit more in depth in the book, and also have examples and exercises so you can kind of practice what I've been preaching for the last 30 minutes or so.
That was very, very, I think there's a lot of little gold nuggets through that I think everybody probably, or at least I would imagine a handful of you guys pulled something from. And amazing that you're able to keep it as condensed as you did, because I know we were talking about.
If you can't say it in 3 minutes, it ain't worth saying.
That's right. Very, 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 very insightful. Definitely a ton of questions that I have out of that, but definitely want to kind of open it up here. There is, let's see, we've got one here in the questions. We'll just start there. We're just going to run through the chat. There's a handful of them. We should be able to get to most of them, and I'll check the inbox too. But again, really, and then I'll follow up with some of my own, but I want to make sure we get to the guests first. So this one is from, and sorry if I have any issues with names or anything, but this one's pretty easy. Lori. Brent, I know you co-write. Can you elaborate on the advantages of a 3-way co-write versus a 2-person co-write?
If the third person is an artist, or, oh, that's a neat effect.
Yeah.
It just depends on what each person brings to the table. 3-way, you know, it might be the third person brings the record deal. It might be the third person brings, hey, I'm good buddies with Luke Bryan and I get cuts with him. So if you write with me, I know I can walk it into him. Or it just might be 2 of you are more melodic and you need another, you know, lyricist or whatever. So it's totally just depends on that. But one advantage is if you all have publishing deals, you have one extra camp, one extra person to promote your song and to pitch it around. You have another set of hands, you know, working it. So, I mean, there's always that part of it. You know, I'd rather have more people plug in than not, but you don't want to get too many cooks in the kitchen. It just depends.
Great. Hopefully that answers your question, Lori. We could probably back to any of these others that don't, but I want to make sure we try to get to everybody. Very, very awesome. So we'll call that one done. The other ones that came through the chat. So let me scan through here. This one is from Shelly. I would like to know the best way to get into a writer's camp in Nashville. I know the community answered a number of those, but Brent, if you have any insight there, feel free to.
Like how to get into a camp? Oh, okay, like an artist camp.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I was like, song camp? An artist camp. Man, I tell you, it's patient. It helps if you're in Nashville, just because you have a better chance to run into people. I'm in a couple camps, and that might, when I've happened, because like I like to think anyway, I'm in I write with Ruthie Collins. She's a new artist on Curb Records. I met her before she had the record deal, and we became friends, and we've been writing together. And then she got the record deal, and we still write. And I have one cut with her so far, and we'll see if I get more. There's another camp. A lot of times it's you get with them before they get the record deal, and while they're more accessible, and then hopefully you hang in there. If they already have the deal, they're more gatekeepers. They're busier. They're on the road a lot. It's kind of a game of 6 degrees of separation. Either you're with a publisher that can hook you up with that artist directly, which that's hard to do because they have a lot of gatekeepers, or you start writing with somebody that's buddies with their buddy, and you prove your worth. You become friends with these people. You start just making friends, and then also being a competent writer, writing the right kind of stuff. And sometimes I've worked my way into artist co-writes because I had an idea that would fit them, and I knew somebody that was writing with that artist. I got a song that Andy Griggs, I got to write with him, and he's had some hits on country radio, and my brother-in-law was writing with him, and they were just buddies. And I was like, man, I'd love to write with Griggs because I'm just a fan of what he does, but I don't want to just say, hey, will you get me in there just because? I didn't want to put my brother-in-law in that position. I was like, okay, what is he looking for? He's like, oh, he needs this kind of song. This is what he wants to do. So I woodshedded and came up with an idea that I thought he'd really like. My brother-in-law was, yeah, he'll love that. He presented the idea to Andy. He's like, hey, my brother-in-law, he's a pro writer, but he's got this idea. And Andy was like, oh, cool, yeah. So we got together one night, we wrote it. And so I kind of used that to get my way in through some network I already had, through some relationships. So it's a patient game. You just got to start getting to know people, do a good job as a writer, meet more people, try to get them before they get the deal too. Do some talent scouting.
Great, that's great. All right, next question here we have Joey. Hey Joey, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes.
He says, Brent, we do a showcase every month in Columbus, Ohio, where we invite 20 songwriters to perform a song for about 100 people. It's a little different. We give the audience feedback cards where they can write their thoughts and comments back to the songwriter. The cards get back to each songwriter at the end of the night. Based on the songwriter-listener chain you described, do you think it's a valuable event for songwriters?
Yeah, it sounds like if they're getting honest feedback. I mean, it's tough sometimes because, it depends on who's in the crowd if they're giving honest feedback, because, your mama always thinks your songs are good. Your buddies are, going to praise your song. So if they're the ones filling out the audience, well, then that's of limited value. It's if they're objective listeners. That's the thing these days. You can, for one, I think it's valuable anytime you can get up and play your song in front of people and see, like, are they, swaying? Are they smiling? Are they crying? What kind of reaction are you getting? A lot of times you just hear a song differently when you play it for somebody than you do here in your basement just by yourself. Those little things you thought weren't, oh, that's fine, it's good enough. You get them in front of somebody and they just get that much bigger and go, oh, that's really not good enough. I didn't realize until I played it for someone I know deep down it's not right. So, yeah, I think that kind of stuff is valuable.
It's great. And I've been to one of Joey's events that he's describing. It is a good mix of people, and he puts on a really great group here in Ohio. So glad to see him here. Brandon, question. I have heard a few different pro writers say lately that if 5 to 12 top publishers pass on your song, you can be pretty sure it won't get cut, at least not anytime soon. Do you agree? Would you sideline a song and move to the next if this happens? What 5 to 12 publishers would you consider the top in Nashville that they may be referring to? I may have to cut this back down. There's a number of questions in there.
Yeah.
So let's start with the first one.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. One thing, it kind of depends on what the kind of feedback is. So if, so a top publisher, I mean, this is somebody that's in the business. They have a professional opinion. It's not your mama, right? So if they're passing on a song, especially if they give you any sort of feedback, and if you play it for multiple people, and this goes the same for song evaluations, whether through NSAI or Global Songwriters or me or whatever, if you hear the same kind of objections or roadblocks going, this thing in the second verse, it this doesn't make sense here, and you hear that from multiple sources, definitely pay close attention to that, because if professional opinions are agreeing that there's some sort of technical issue with it, or the some problem that they're agreeing on, then give it a good hard look. But at the same time, I played Monday morning church for everyone I could when I hit town, and everybody passed on it. They liked it. They weren't drawing technical problems with it, going, oh, this part doesn't make sense. It was more like, for what it is, like, I think it's good, I think it's well written, but man, I just don't see anybody saying that. And then it ended up getting cut. Stuff like that happens. So it's a balancing act. If there are technical issues with it, stuff, structure issues, or it's 5 minutes long or that kind of stuff, pay attention to it. And always be writing new songs. And if it's been 3 years and that's still your best song, write more songs so that's not your best song anymore, and keep going.
Great. Other questions that Brandon has here. What is your I guess go here. What is your personal pitching method, if not a song written for a specific artist? When do you decide to stop actively pitching a song? And Brandon, hopefully you covered got your answers to most of those questions.
Yeah. Right now it's mostly MP3, emailing, just because I don't have as much time to meet. I prefer in-person meetings with A&R people and that sort of thing. A lot of my, seems like the last several cuts have come from writing with the artist. The Joe Nichols cut on Crickets is the title track to his current record, was a cold email. I got the email address of the head of the label, and I heard that people pitch songs to him that way. So I pitched him. I said, hey, I gave him the elevator pitch. I made it short, made it sweet. Dear so-and-so, my name is Brent Baxter. I've had cuts by blah, 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 blah. Here's a song I think would be great for Joe. Lyrics and MP3 attached. Thank you very much. My contact information, boom. Attached the lyric sheet with my contact information and the MP3 of the guitar vocal. It wasn't even a full demo. Sent that to him. Ended up getting a phone call from him. He loved it. Put on hold. Now, there have been plenty of times I email people and you hear nothing back. And it is crickets, but a different kind. And that's the norm. So that's why, pitching through email is hard. You just never know if it's ever getting listened to. But that was when I had success on that. But lately, like the Ruthie Collins stuff on Curb, I write with her. Other cuts I've had, like the Ray Stevens stuff, I wrote with somebody in his publishing company. And so we had access. And I could actually walk up to Ray and go, hey, we got this idea for this thing. He's like, write that. Yes, sir. But MP3, and then trying to find out who can give you the actual big yes. A lot of A&R people can't say, yes, we'll cut your song. They can just say, yes, I'll pass it along. And there's some value to that. If that's the highest level you can get to, do that. But then always be aiming to see, okay, who can I get to that actually will give me a yes or a no? That means yes or no. So
that's great. Getting great insight. And I think Brandon had another one here. Is there a resource that someone has put together that details what each artist brand is in the market? That's an interesting question. Like
that is
graphic or.
And for only $19.99 a month, I will put one together. No, I'm not aware of anything like that. But you know what? It's called iTunes. It's called Spotify. It's called Buy the Record and do your research. And not only that, and that's something that I go over in Cuttable too, is say, hey, go back a couple records on an artist. If you're wanting to write for that artist, chart their last, if they have 3 records or whatever, chart the trajectory of where they're going and try to aim for where they're going to be. Don't aim for where they are, aim for where you think they're going to be. But yeah, every single, and then the album cuts, they round out that person's personality and just to do the research. But I don't know of anyone that has a service for that, but it's kind of cool.
It is definitely cool. Let's see, I've got one here in email that I want to make sure I hit, and this one is from Jane. Hey, Jane, thanks for joining us. I'm going to drop it in here as well so everybody can see it. But are you starting to write lyrics that have multiple hooks, as in what pop has been doing in the last few years? Seems as if the multiple hooks are making their way to country.
I'm not doing that as much. I'm all for it because, man, country largely is a couple years behind pop. Um, and man, Shania Twain did that all over the place, and that stuff was huge.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes it, and it would almost bother me at times, like pick a hook, but you can't argue with like a bazillion records sold. I mean, that stuff worked. So I think multiple hooks are good, especially melodic hooks. The hookier you can make that stuff, the better. Lyrically, you want it all to be strong and as hooky as possible. I still want people to know what to request when they call the radio station. I want them to know from listening one time what the title is, so at least if they call and request it, or they try to look it up on iTunes, they're going to find it. And so I would be careful about making it so many dominant hooks that people won't know what to call it, or if they search, they may not search the right thing. I want them to find my song so they can buy it.
That's great insight.
So looking back through their list of like, oh yeah, Brent sent me the song. It was really cool. It was called blah, blah, blah. Nope, I don't see it in my email. Well, it's because I called it something else because I didn't name it the dominant hook, So little things like that to worry about. But in generally, hooky is good. Hooky is good.
Nice. No, that's really, again, great advice, because I think sometimes it's that whole keep it simple when you can, because there's reasons sometimes that that pays off.
Maybe one thing real fast, because I know we said it was from 8 to 9. In case some people need to go, I just want to make y'all aware of a discount. Cuttable is for sale, and Dennis has the link for that. Will go up in the follow-up email. I think you may drop it in here in the chat.
Yeah, drop it in here
where you can purchase Cuttable if you're into that sort of thing. But also there's a normally it sells for $25, but for the next 20 people that buy, there's a discount code that he's going to give you that gives you 20% off. So basically drops the price to $20 for the next 20 people that buy, and so it saves you 20% on that. And also it covers the 4 lessons I talked about. It also has exercises in there and some more examples, dives a little bit deeper into some of that stuff, because I know I was blowing through really fast. So it allows you to kind of go at your pace. But also there are 2 bonuses in addition to the Cuttable ebook. And one is Hit Songwriting, How a Songwriting Coach Can Fast Track Your Success, which is a free ebook which talks about how to maximize like if you go into a mentoring session, whether through NSAI or whether with me or Global Songwriters or ASCAP, CSAC, or BMI, anytime you sit across from a pro writer or a professional in the business and you're playing songs for them, then how to get the most out of that, how to have the best chance to turn that open door into a relationship. It's a free bonus that you'll get when you download Cuttable. It's just an extra ebook that you can download. But I've done hundreds of hours of mentoring. I did a ton for NSAI, and just from being on, and I did, mentoring sessions as the mentoree. And so I just wrote down what I learned, lessons learned from both sides of the table on how people can have the most success out of those sessions. So it's not a sales pitch to say, hey, hire me. No, it's just about wherever you go, this is how to get the most out of that. There's another free ebook called The Best of Man vs. Roe 2014, which is a collection of some of I think the most valuable blog posts from 2014 from the Man vs. Roe blog. So I believe there are 25 articles. So it contains things like 6 simple ways to make your songs more commercial, 5 ways songwriters make their lyrics too old, which is definitely about, affects commercial viability, 6 ways to get the most from your solo songwriting time, 5 things songwriters should quit, and should you copyright your song. So all that stuff is covered in there. It's a free bonus to Cuttable. And, $20 sometimes for songwriters is a lot of money, but if you think about how much money you might spend demoing one song, it could be $400 to $800. And if a $20 investment can help you either decide not to demo that song after all, and it saves you $400, or it gets you to write that song where it's worth demoing, that's a heck of an investment. And also, the difference between, even if you have the song good enough to be an album cut, if Cuttable for $20 can help you get that where it's single worthy, then that's a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So just to kind of put that in context for you. But I saw Dennis put that up. The Man versus Freddie is a discount code so it's 20 for 20 for 20 discount. And so that's there. You can put that in there at checkout and save you $5. And then of course you also get the 2 free bonuses. And also, Dennis, you had a promo code for Freddie, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, what's going to, obviously we talked about, the power of community, and a lot of the stuff that you talked about tonight, were about, connections that and how you're able to kind of work your network to connect you to the right people along your journey. So, obviously, that's where Freddie, the community aspect comes into play. So, as I said earlier, Freddie is all about the kind of the network and the connections and the way to engage around your music as you're writing it to grow as a songwriter. So it is a membership-based community, but very similar. And just like Brent, we decided that it'd be great to offer this up for you as well tonight to give 20% off that for the first 20 people who purchase a membership for a year. I'd be curious, Brent, too, as I share this info, how much community kind of played, into your journey so far, and if you see value, what the value is for that.
It's huge. I mean, the story of a cut is really the story of relationships. My first cut, Monday Morning Church, I didn't write that with a hit songwriter. I wrote that with a girl in college. That she was a hit songwriter, and so was I, but we just hadn't had the hit yet, So I found somebody that was working hard, had the same goals, and we became friends. And we wrote the song together. And it was through her connections that it found its way to the publisher and then found its way to Alan's producer. So, and, meeting Ruthie Collins, who I've gotten in touch with, was through other friends of mine that knew her. Like, oh, you need to meet her. It was through that community where I get introduced to people that I end up writing with that, so it's really all about relationships. I mean, you have to write worthy songs, but so much about relationships, the people you meet that, iron sharpens iron, that challenge you to be a better songwriter, that have complementary skills. I mean, I'm a lyricist, so I'm going to need melody writers. Otherwise, I'm a bad poet without good melody writers. And, so that's, as a community, is really important to find those people that really complement what you do. So yeah, it's really important.
That's great. Yeah, and I think you nailed it. It's that sometimes you learn more about the process of somebody as you're going through the creative process, and I think that's where you grow most. And that's why we've kept things at Freddie very much about the raw music and just helping you guys kind of shape songs together in a platform that is very much specific to the music. So I definitely hope you guys check it out. If you have any questions about Freddie, we can talk about that offline. But let's see, we're at 10:10 my time, so if you want to take some more questions, we can.
Yeah, I have a few minutes, and my kids are asleep. My wife is probably asleep too, so.
Awesome.
Happy to do a few more.
Yeah, my little one's she luckily hasn't said a few, so we're good. Let's see. So where do we leave off? This is a good one. Where do we? Do you have any? We can submit demos. I imagine this is to you for feedback.
For feedback.
Shelly's still here, but
I do not. At this point, I'm not doing like single song feedback. Every once in a while, I'll make a one-on-one coaching session available. I don't do them a whole lot because it comes out of my family time. And so, but every once in a while, on Man versus Row, there's a coaching tab that you can click on. And if I have anything available, any slots available, I'll put it out through there. And I usually let my list know, let the community know. But as of right now, I don't do any of that. Maybe in the future. And if we do, I'll let you know.
Yeah, and definitely let us know. We definitely would like to make that available in some way to our community. I love the balance of family and work. It's important, especially in the creative space, right?
Yes.
Too much work just kind of affects everything, so it's good to have that balance.
My wife actually likes having me around, and so I'm going to keep it that way as long as I can.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did anybody else have any questions here? If not, I do have a few that I'd like to ask, but I want to keep the floor open to you guys.
Yeah, so pop it in the chat or email if you can.
We'll go for a little bit longer here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll ask mine while somebody's hopefully typing.
Yes.
So, I loved, just what you said in lesson 1 about visuals. I love the whole aspect about writing around neighborhoods. I think that was a really great visual to talk about that lesson. But I think for me, and by all means, I'm more writing as a I guess I don't want to say a hobby, but my next life I'm doubling down on this. But I struggle a lot with cliches, and when you think of visuals, I go to cliches. So how do you balance that in your music, right? Because when you're painting visuals, I think a lot of times you can get stuck in cliches. So I would just love to hear how you balance that.
Cliches are valuable because they can transmit a lot of information in a few words, because we all know what they mean, but they're dangerous because we all know what they mean. They don't have much power, and we tend to go to sleep during them.
Yeah.
The things I do, for one thing is, you just try to train yourself not to settle for that. But as far as ways to build that muscle, if you say, you're trying to build a visual of, say, the beach or whatever, there are all the cliche things, the sand and the sun and the palm trees, whatever, that you're going to think of first. Well, a lot of times what I'll do if I need to is, I'll say, what, I'm going to fill up a page. I'm just going to free write all sensory images about whatever my topic is, say in this case, the beach. And so I'm just going to write for either 10 minutes, or I'm going to fill up this page or 2 pages, whatever kind of box I want to fill up. And so I'll start writing, but it's all imagery. It's not, the 5 senses. And what happens is, you kick out the cliche stuff first, because that's the first stuff that hits your mind. And then you got to keep going, because you still have 5 minutes left, or you still have 20 minutes left, or a page and a half left. And you got to start digging. You got to start digging deeper. And that's when you get to the really interesting stuff too. And so that's a way to kind of start building that muscle, because then you get into like, oh yeah, you get, when I dig down deep enough in the sand, it gets cool. It's cool and wet down there in the sand. Like, oh yeah, that's not the first thing I think of. Or the grit that's in my sandwich I packed for lunch. A little bit of sand got in my sandwich, and that, or whatever it is, a little crab walking sideways. All that stuff you start getting to, that's not the obvious stuff. So that's a good way to kind of dig deeper, and you can keep those things around. I have a notebook full of that stuff. I got it somewhere around here, full of when I've done that. And it's got beach, airport, parking lot, all these different things. I'd pick one and then just fill up the page on it, and I can always have it to refer back to. If I'm like, oh, I'm writing a song about an airport. Well, let's see what I've done before, and oh, that's a cool image. Yeah, instead of just the planes taking off, I got whatever.
Yeah, no, that's what I was just thinking when you were talking about that. Is now you have this kind of rolling like library of things you can reference. Yeah. So even though you're doing the work, then nice, that's awesome.
Yeah,
you kind of have that record you can kind of
it's kind of like your own database of imagery.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you use Evernote, you could even put it in Evernote, and then you can search it while you're writing and pull it back up and go, oh yeah, here are all these images of say whatever. Let's see one here. People, or this studio where I used to record. And it's also a great way just to capture memories, or a place I used to work. I did a page on Altel in Little Rock, and so I can, if I want to go back to Biblical Jungle, I can always go back there and go, oh yeah, those are those things that if I want to write about somebody working in cubicle. So
that's great. I have anybody else have any questions? I have 2 more I'd like to just ask. That one, I think my curiosity, and I think it'd be valuable to the community as well, or those attending tonight. But what's the single best advice that you've gotten to date as a songwriter? Like that's probably hard, because you probably get a lot of advice, but I wonder, there's one, element that has stood out.
One piece that stands out to me and was, I was meeting with, I want to say Scott Gunter. He's a music pro. He does like songwriter management and stuff now, but I think it was Scott. It was when I first hit town, and I was fortunate enough to get a meeting with him, and I played him some songs, and he said, you're describing the truck from the outside. You need to describe it from inside the cab. And he meant that metaphorically, meaning I was describing some situations from a distance, from a little bit of an outsider's perspective, and I need to get so inside that idea, the metaphorical truck, that I'm describing it from the inside looking out.
That's great.
Yeah, it took me a while to get it, like, huh? But, okay, I think I'm getting it now. Meaning, say, with Monday morning church, and this goes back to the imagery, I think there's so much power in finding those small details that are not the cliche ones, but are very believable and very telling for the emotional point. So, like with Monday morning church, it talks about you left your Bible on the dresser, so I put it in the drawer.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I don't know really, the song's about a guy that is having a crisis of faith after his wife, who is more the spiritual head of the household, passed away, and he's angry at God, and he's struggling with these things. So I don't know if there is a cliche for that, but I was picturing it and going, okay, what's it look like? What's it look like for this guy to be in this situation? Well, she's more spiritual. She probably has, and for me, it was really the nightstand, by the bed, her side of the bed, and she kept her Bible there because that's where she'd read it in the morning or at night before bed. And he's in bed and he can't sleep. He's just angry and he's heartbroken. And he looks over her side and there's that Bible lying there. And he's just, he can't deal with it right now. So he opens up the nightstand and throws the Bible in there and slams it because he just can't deal with that stuff. To me, that felt like a very real, very believable image. It was fiction, but it seemed like a small detail that was from inside the cab.
Yeah.
Like someone that was going through that might be like, yeah, that's believable.
Yeah.
So
that's a great example. Yeah, now that's very, very powerful. Appreciate, and I love the insight on that song, because again, I love that song. I realized it was you who wrote it. I was like, wow, that's great. So a quick question from Brandon, and then we're probably kind of start wrapping up. Are there legal reasons pro writers don't typically write with unknown writers, or other reasons why this would be frowned on?
Not any legal reasons that I know of, because, everyone starts off unknown. The reason that it's hard to get a co-write with a pro, it's hard to get on their books, is because they're trying to feed their families. And if you're unknown, you're unknown. Whereas they can fill their calendars with people that are known, that they know they write with, that they know have connections, that they know are really good writers, and have a better chance of making money with and getting a cut with, versus somebody they don't know how good you are. So it's I can't write with everybody. I don't have enough time. My dance card's full. I got a bump. This is like generally what, like for me, I only have so many slots to write with. I got people I know I write well with that are my buddies. We've had success together. Or artist. Okay, for me to put in somebody else who's just Joe off the street, I don't know, that I met at a Christmas party, and they say, hey, we should write. For me to say yes on a particular day, I got to say no to everybody else on that day. Because I got that day reserved for Joe from the Christmas party. That's a big high bar, because I could write with Neil Cody that day, or with somebody else that has a publisher and all that stuff. So that's the bar ultimately, is that it's just, why you over somebody else? Some ways to get around that is to, as you start making connections, play for publisher, they start digging your stuff, they might suggest a co-write with one of their people, or another up and coming writer they know of that maybe doesn't write for them, but they're like, hey, I've also been listening to Sally's stuff and I think her stuff's pretty cool. You should write with her, see what you get. Or through, places like NSAI, where you get a chance to meet with some writers, you could connect on a personal level. Like, hey, we're both Buckeyes fans. Let's let's start building a personal relationship over that, and then maybe go hang out, and then let's write.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think sometimes, it's easy to think like I want to. Sometimes, I guess I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this, but sometimes it's easy to say I want to write to somebody over here, but sometimes if you write here, you're going to work together, and hopefully you complement each other. Next thing you know, you both, or whoever you're working with, become here. It's right. I guess you make it happen. It's kind of
your crew rises together.
Exactly.
Class
exactly.
The kind of class is like, oh, I'm the class of 2002 because that's when I moved here, and people moved around the same time.
Exactly.
And if people in your crew, maybe no one's really known, but then somebody has a success, gets a cut or gets a publishing deal, that kind of raises the profile of everybody in the group, because, oh yeah, I'm right with Bill, and he just got a publishing deal over at Sony or whatever. And like I mentioned before with Erin, she didn't have a publishing deal. I mean, she was working with a publisher, but she didn't have a full-on publishing deal. She was still in college. She didn't have any other cuts. I mean, Monday Morning Church was the first cut for both of us. So thank goodness I didn't ignore her going, well, I got this idea, and I'm going to wait till I can write it with a pro. She's a hit writer. We were just supposed to write the first hit together. I wanted to write with her because she's really talented and she was working hard and making connections. So I'm like, great. Felt very blessed to be able to write with her, regardless of, her having any cuts before or whatever. So don't neglect your peer group.
Yeah, I mean, you see that all the time. You kind of read about the history of some of the stuff Garth Brooks has done, and it's like these people who are writing with Garth Brooks, and then Garth Brooks makes it, to where he did so fast. Well, nothing's fast, but it's kind of crazy because you're looking at kind of that swap in hierarchy. But it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, Garth Brooks was just like everybody else here.
Everybody in town passed on him.
Yeah, and you start
boots up in Goodlettsville, and everybody was passing on him.
Yeah.
And then, and he stayed true to the people that wrote with him, and the people that blew him off when he was kind of a nobody. Well, he remembered that when they came calling, and he was like, "I'm right with my crew that believed in me because they believed in me."
Yeah.
And he's been very loyal. Not everyone is that way, but he is.
Yeah. No, that's great. I would love to, we'll kind of wrap up here, but definitely want to ask this question: if it wasn't songwriting, what would it be for you? I mean, is this always something you've always wanted to do? Like, I know you said you kind of had a journey to get here, but
yeah, I mean, gosh, I can't imagine, because it's what I want to do. Still what I want to do. And so if I had to do something else, it would be something else I had to do. So, and at times, I do have to do other stuff, but something creative. I've always been a writer. I've written scripts for my church's vacation Bible school, programs. And, I've done that before, and that's a lot of fun. So I think it just has to be something that is creative, and also like the entrepreneurial aspect of it, because you are your own small business. Even if you have a publishing deal, you're at most an independent contractor. You're not an employee. So I've really come to enjoy and appreciate that kind of freedom, and it's on me, and it's my thing to build. I enjoy that. There are other things that I can do and have to do from time to time and whatever, but I don't know. I feel like if I'm not being creative,
I hear you there. I hear you there. I feel like once you find what it is, there's not much you wouldn't trade for anything. So at least it's in the same space, right? So
yeah, if I can do something creative writing wise, then I'm probably pretty good. But songwriting it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, what do you think, Brent? I mean, I know we're over by about 25 minutes, but I know we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to answer questions, and man, we still have 15 people here, so it's
hey, thank you.
I know. Yeah. So if everybody's good, I think, and Brent, if you're good, we'll call this one a wrap. And then next steps here is we're going to share this recording. I'll send out an email to everybody who attended, anybody who signed up, so they'll get links to the offers that we talked about tonight, and hope to see you guys. We're hoping to do more of these through the course of the year periodically, so I hope to see you at the next one. So
spread the word.
Yeah, definitely. And Brent, where can people find you?
You can find me at, I'll put it in here, manversusrow.com is my home on the web, where you can shoot out from there to find me on Twitter, on Facebook, all that stuff. But my home on the row is manversusrow.com. It's where I put up the blog. So a couple times a week I put up free content, songwriting tips, that kind of stuff. I also have links to some e-products and stuff. And I know Dennis has put a link where you can get it with the discount. Holler there.
Awesome. And you can find us at Freddie.com, on Twitter and Facebook, Twitter at IamFreddie. And with that, we'll call this a wrap. And again, thanks everybody for joining us, and hope to see you at the next one.
Yeah. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks everybody. Thanks for showing up.